Yep.
It's 7 o'clock.
Oh, the voice in the void says it's 7 o'clock. So let's get ourselves started. Good evening, everybody. This is the City of Ellensburg City Council meeting for the evening of Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. We'll start with a roll call.
Engel,
Here.
Goodlow,
Here.
Lamb,
Here.
Lilquist,
Here.
Miller. I don't think he can hear yet. Morgan,
Here.
Tab.
I'm here. And we would note it for the roll call that we have visual contact with David Miller. I'm not sure if we have any other kind of contact. I have no proclamations, awards, or recognitions this evening. That would move us to the approval of the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
So a motion and second to approve the agenda as presented. I believe we want to have an amendment to that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'll move to remove 5A, approval of the minutes from the January 4th meeting from the agenda, from the consent agenda, so that we can talk about it. So moving 5A to, I'm not sure what.
Would either be 10A or unfinished business.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So we have a motion. Can we get a second to move the minutes of the January 4th meeting down to 10A?
I'll
That's to
second.
amend my motion.
Oh, well, what we can do is get a second on the amendment, and then we'll vote on the amended agenda. So we have Beth, did you get the second to
Yes,
the?
I have Councilmember Goodlow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and second to amend the agenda, pulling item 5A, approval of the minutes from January 4th, creating a 10A under unfinished business. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. Heard you, David. That was good. And then
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Sorry for.
no, it's good. It's now we have a motion and second on the amended agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I too vote aye. That motion carries. Then we move to the amended consent.
I move approval of the amended consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too
Aye.
vote aye. That motion carries. Thank you. That brings us then to 6A. This is our COVID-19 update. And in nearly the middle of my screen, which is probably symbolic at this point, is Dr. Larson. So, Dr. Larson, welcome. And the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for having me on this evening. I thought I'd talk about a couple of things. I'll talk about vaccine distribution. I'll talk about our new South Central region and the work we're doing with them, and I'll talk about our current numbers and the direction that appears to be going. So to start with vaccination, in partnership with multiple groups in Kittitas County, the county's been doing a great job with vaccine distribution. Of the governor's unhappiness with vaccine distribution, actually, I think we should be used as an example of how it could be done, mostly with a public and public partnership, but there were some private players as well. We've done about 1,700 vaccines. We've not wasted one vaccine dose. Similar to what you've heard from other providers, we are getting extra vaccine doses out of vials of Pfizer as well as vials of Moderna vaccines. So if they tell us we're getting 10 vaccines in a vial, a lot of times we'll actually get 11 out of Moderna, for example. because of the work that we've done, mostly with KVH, but with others as well, we were able to transfer another 1,000 doses of Moderna from Mason General Hospital to Kittitas Valley Hospital. Julie Peterson called the CEO of Mason General, and they said, we're not using our vaccine. And I ended up calling Scott Lindquist, the state epidemiologist, who was in a meeting with all the people that were talking about vaccine distribution, and they moved those vaccines to us. So we currently have about 2,000 doses of vaccine in the county, about 1,000 Moderna doses and about 1,000 Pfizer doses. We've been vaccinating people daily. And as you probably heard from the governor, we moved into phase 1B. 1B had been people over 70. Now that's dropped to people older than 65 or people older than 50 in multi-generational housing. That's a little harder. It's easy to figure out who's over 65. It's a little harder to figure out who's in multi-generational housing. But there is a phase finder for people to use. We will start, like I said, we've been continuing to do daily vaccine clinics, but starting next week on the 26th, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, both in Upper County and in Lower County, we will be doing 250 vaccinations daily in both Upper County and Lower County. So 1,000 vaccines for Upper County, 1,000 for Lower County. That's going to be done at the Centennial Center in Cle Elum and at the fairgrounds in Ellensburg. We've worked with the county IT department as well as KVH IT department in coming up with a scheduling program, which should be out by tomorrow afternoon. The time frame for getting vaccinated is about 25 minutes. There's no cost for vaccination. It is a 2-dose series. If people get the Pfizer vaccine, they get the second vaccination at 21 days. And if they get the Moderna vaccine, the vaccinations at 28 days. Full immune system response about 15 days after the second shot. So this is very exciting for us to have this available. We have a vaccine hotline for people to call. It's 933-8315. Rich Elliott actually manned that vaccine hotline most of the day today. So thank you to Rich. And most of the people had questions about actually how to get scheduled. There will be a lot more vaccine coming into the state. We don't know exactly when, but the governor wants to get the state up to 45,000 vaccinations daily. That's a huge lift from where we are currently in the state. That is more supply that he wants to get in people's arms daily than we actually have coming in from the federal government. But the governor wants us ready to do that, so we will be ready to do that here in Kittitas County. Questions about vaccine before I just, the vaccine, we don't have Johnson & Johnson vaccine yet. I would expect Johnson & Johnson vaccine to be approved somewhat in the next month or so. It's a one-shot vaccination, and we've not had any serious reactions to vaccine. We've had some people that got pretty sore and tired after their second dose, but nothing in the way of serious vaccine reaction. Questions about vaccine?
Questions, folks?
So, Mark, I have a question. If we call the hotline, can we get scheduled?
Currently not. If you call the hotline, they will tell you to go through Vaccine Finder, which is a state website. It basically, you put in your age. If you're older than 65, it says yes, you're approved. It'll come up with a little, basically, web a page that says that you're available, you're in the current phase, and then we will have a separate scheduling program for people to schedule. For those people that aren't savvy either with a cell phone or with a computer, we will be available to schedule those folks. There will be no walk-in vaccinations.
Just for a point of clarification, that line is only available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and they are not currently set up to do any scheduling right now. To walk someone through how to do it online, but considering the very little supply that we have compared to demand, we do not foresee that being it. We do not at this point the ability to email addresses and minimal online access to be area.
Okay, thanks.
So other things, South Central region, we have started working with our South Central partners, both the administrators and the health officers. We had our second weekly call today. Tristan and I have been on weekly calls with Region 7, which was Grant County, Chelan, Douglas, and Okanagan for the multiple years now. So it's a switch. They are people that we know and have worked with in a variety of other situations, but it's a little trickier and different politics that are happening in those counties than are happening in the counties that we've been working with previously. So our ability to move forward in the phases is tied to how well the counties that we're in. And as Andre Fresco, the administrator of Yakima County, said, we're gonna have to work with them to help pull their numbers up because they're the difficult player. Each Friday, the state goes through the numbers and determines kind of where people are. As of last Friday, our incident rate had gone down about 12%, so that's a good sign. Our 14-day trend of hospitalization had gone down 22%. That's a good sign. Where we're going to struggle is with intensive care unit beds. We're at 91%, and that actually needs to be less than 90, so we don't have a whole lot of distance to move. But our percent positive rate for our region is 19%. We in Kittitas County are 15.8%. The goal is to be less than 10%. So we still have lots of positive COVID tests. And we're already starting to get migrant workers coming into Benton Franklin and Yakima County. So we have to kind of figure out how we're going to work with them. That would be similar if we were still in Region 7, because there are a lot more migrant workers in Grant County and Chelan, Douglas than there are in Kittitas County. So working with them. Our numbers here in the county have dropped into the low double digits, so into the low teens, 11, 12, 13 cases per day, down from mid 20s after the Christmas holiday. So I think we're past our peak from Christmas and New Year's, which is a real blessing. So our incident rate for the county, we peaked at 648 cases per 100,000 per 14 days on December 24th. And as of January 13th, we're at 419 cases. So numbers going down. Looks like my internet connection is unstable, so I apologize for that. And the hospital, our hospital has had COVID-19 patients in the hospital pretty much since Christmas, every day. So we just have a lot more disease in the community. Schools are doing okay. They're back in session. We are offering testing to staff twice weekly and teachers, or staff and teachers twice weekly and students once weekly. That's being led by Cle Elum-Roslyn School District, and Ellensburg School District is starting to follow that as well. So we're giving folks the opportunity to be tested, which is lowering people's anxiety and allowing school to continue to go forward. I had 2 schools talk to me in the last 2 days about increasing K-5 number of kids in school. So both Easton School District and Kittitas School District are considering increasing the number of kids in school based upon continuing masking and keeping 6-foot physical distance between students. End of report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Questions?
So I have a question about the vaccine, and my internet connection was a little touchy then, so I apologize if you already addressed this, but it sounds like for the people that are eligible for the vaccine, the clinic's available, but it's only 9 to 5 and you schedule online?
Correct. Yep. We will be scheduling online. Safeway is also vaccinating. They are scheduling online. We are moving forward with getting vaccine into our other partners' hands, such as the other pharmacies in town. But the county organized vaccine distribution will be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay, that was my concern, was access without internet, or if you work 9 to 5. But it sounds like as we move forward, then it's going to be more widespread with more options.
Yeah, we should see all the pharmacies. So we're trying to increase the number of people that have signed up for vaccine as vaccine providers. In our county, we currently have 9 vaccine providers. That county public health is one, the hospital, 2 clinics, community health, Safeway. Each pharmacy has to be signed up as a vaccine provider. So we'll be working on that. And then on the more spots that people have to be able to get vaccines, the better. It may be that if there's a demand for what you're asking for, Stacy, we may have to switch to being maybe running a little later in the day to catch those people that are at work, for example, or maybe running on a Saturday. But right now we don't have enough vaccine to actually do that.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, go Dave.
Oh, okay, thanks. Doctor, thank you for the update. Do you have any sense of I think what we're hearing from Washington, D.C., the new president's plan is to have 100 million vaccinations in 100 days. That's a far cry from what we've experienced so far, I know. But do you have any sense whether the systems, the structures that are in place locally are going to be able to accommodate whatever increase in supply might be coming our way? And what do you think that would look like in terms of doses?
I think that we in Kittitas County should be viewed as an example of how to do this. We have volunteers, a volunteer system set up to continue to run these clinics. I'm not sure, it's all going to be based upon population. So we will be getting vaccine based upon population of those people older than 65 and older than 50 in multi-generational households. And then as we move into B2, B3, B4, we'll be getting vaccine based upon those numbers. I think we can gear up to deliver whatever vaccine that we get from the state in our county. We'll have 2 large state-run vaccine clinics in Central Washington, one in Wenatchee and the other in Kennewick. But I really doubt that we'll have any of our county citizens needing to go to those places to get vaccine.
Thank you.
Other questions? Again, Dr. Larson, thanks for taking the time. This is really helpful. I know just from my own contacts, there's just been confusion, and this is helpful, I think, in just getting information out, particularly since we're streaming on YouTube this evening too, as a new path. So again, thanks a lot, and maybe we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Happy to be here. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We're now at 6B. This is board and commission applications. We do have one individual who has applied for landmarks and design, Lathan Wedeen. And I think I saw Lathan earlier. He's still on. So Lathan, this is an opportunity just to introduce yourself to council, give council an opportunity to have a question if you'd like. And so if you would, you could go live and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you would like to serve on landmarks and design. Yes, this is good.
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you. Yes, my name is Lathan Wedeen. You might know me from just previously on the project manager for the Ellensburg Police Department renovation. But I'm a licensed architect in the state of Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. And I started my career back in Spokane, Washington. I got my master's of architecture there, and then I worked for a large design firm there. And while I was there, I was appointed to the Spokane Design Review Board. So that's my parallel path here to the Landmarks Commission. Is I was fortunate to sit on that, be appointed, and I got to review quite a few projects for the city of Spokane. And then I moved back to Central Washington. I was a construction project manager for a small firm out of Oregon, and oversaw the $43 million Wapato High School renovation down there for 5 years. And then moved back up here. I was able to work at Central Washington University for 3 years, running their capital division, managing well over 200 projects in a biennium. And then that brought me to the city of Ellensburg. Mr. Akers and we connected, and it was a fun gig there at the city. So here I am now. I'm Studio L&L, a small design firm here in Central Washington, where we have a select clients that we work with. And so design is my passion, and construction project management sort of came to be by trade.
Great, thank you. I would note that this would meet one of the criteria as a professional for the Landmarks and Design Commission, which we're lacking currently. Any questions for Lathan?
I have a question. Hi, Lathan. How are you? Thanks. I appreciate the work you did on the project management on the EPD building. That was great. So glad to see you again. I have a question. On landmarks and design, as you know, their bread and butter is historic preservation, and a lot of work around that. Could you speak just very briefly about your thoughts on historic preservation, some experience you might bring to the Landmarks and Design Commission on that?
Yeah, gladly. Yeah, I understand the traditions, especially of Ellensburg and the downtown core. I was born and raised in Ellensburg, and gosh, when I had put down how long I've lived on the application, 20 years, and that doesn't include going away for college. It was like, wow, that's a long time in Ellensburg. Regardless, I understand the importance of historic preservation. I also know it's a pretty tricky / slippery slope sometimes when you get in there. You got developers that it's their way or the highway, and then you also got city code and comprehensive plans that you got to weigh and balance the two. And so I believe that's why commissions like this one are vital for the city, so that you can bring in that common sense aspect to that. And because all codes are pretty gray, and there's interpretations and subjectiveness that we got to weigh. And That's even in historic preservation. That to one person, the brick facade, a rustic brick facade might be historic preservation, and let's restore that. But you can also mimic that with new age materials that'll last longer, for example. So really just a balance of the two. And so that's why I'm applying. I think my skills, my background will help decipher that and just bring something to the table on that, David.
Great, thank you. Other questions? So I guess the one question I might have, we have 2 vacancies on landmarks and design, and I'm knowing reviewing the minutes, it doesn't seem as if quorum is an issue at this point, but is it so? Or typically what we do is wait for a couple weeks. But I think there's a general awareness of your professional skills and knowledge.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not aware
Mr. Mayor,
of a problem.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to speak just in general. I think that the commission has been right up against the edge of quorum issues the last several meetings, having lost some members. So I don't know that they've had to cancel any meetings, but I think they're, it's been a bit of work for staff to make sure that they have quorums.
So it's your perception it would be if we're able to move forward with appointing Lathan this evening, that would be helpful for the commission?
I believe so. I believe they're actually meeting as we speak. They are. Somehow we ended up on the same time, but no. Yeah. So I think so. I think it could help. It certainly wouldn't hurt.
Okay. So assuming, Lathan, that you're willing to move quickly.
You can go from here to the other meeting.
Yeah, it's just all you got to do is switch
Jump
links.
right in.
It's really simple these days. Yeah. So why don't we? What are we doing here? Do I appoint with confirmation, or what's the process for landmarks and design?
Yes.
It's a mayor's appointment with council concurrence.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to.
I move
affirm.
that you appoint Lathan for the landmarks and design.
Very good.
So a motion.
Second. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a motion and second to appoint Lathan Wadeen to the Landmarks and Design Commission with the mayor's recommendation. Is any further discussion?
I just wanted to say that I think Lathan's a great candidate, and I appreciate your willingness to donate your time and engage in the community.
Thanks, Stacy.
Great. And also it is appreciated. So thank you. We do have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I too vote aye, and that motion carries then.
Now you can just walk across the hall to your other meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Just again noting, we have a vacancy currently on the Arts Commission, a couple on the Building Appeals Board.
And lodging tax.
And we have, we're down 3 people in lodging tax right now.
2
one
recipients and 1 hotelier.
2 recipients and 1 hotelier.
Yep.
And then 1 individual on the Public Transit Advisory Committee. And also you're down 1 at the Utility Advisory Committee. So there's quite a number of, if anyone is looking to get engaged with us as and serve on a board or commission, there are a number of openings currently. Great, thank you. And again, thanks to all of our boards and commissions for the work they do. It's at some levels a thankless job and can be quite a bit of work. We would now move down to citizen comment on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for individuals to approach council over matters which we have purview, which are not on the agenda. And if once called upon, if you would give your name, your address, whether you're representing yourself or others. Comments that are derogatory or personal in nature will not be tolerated, and you will be muted, and you will have 3 minutes to speak to council. We will not take action on any item that's brought before us during non-agenda comment time. With that said, does anybody wish to approach council? Looks like Christopher Hobbs.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, how you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I am 302 North Water. Christopher Hobbs is my name. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm also speaking for the many disenfranchised voices that are technologically impaired. I think we need to remind ourselves that that this is a all remote meeting. I understand that that's been imposed by proclamation and so forth. But I think that it's important for the council to remember that normal rules, when we're not in an emergency situation, only allow remote attendance when there is some emergency. I think your rules call out a fire, a flood, or earthquake. Something that is urgent is the only time when it's allowed that someone can log in remote. And so I think that might be important to consider that when dealing with issues that have more of a long-term effect, maybe even especially things with the comprehensive plan and so on and so forth that require more deliberation and require a wider participation from people that are not able to log into these meetings. I think we need to remember that all of us that are not technologically impaired are essentially becoming sort of a technological privileged class here. And we need to remember that anytime that we're dealing with something that is beyond just the daily or something that is emergency, that you should remember that those voices need to be heard too. And so I would encourage the council to consider that in any of their long-term things that are not immediate, in hopes that we can someday get out of this condition and get back to face-to-face communication, because that is much more valuable and I think more effective, as your normal rules tend to believe. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to approach? Okay, seeing no one, then we'll move on to public hearings. This is now 8A. We're on page 18 of your packet. There is a script that I need to walk through for this. This is a public hearing. So the purpose of this legislative hearing is for the City Council to consider passage of a resolution to declare city utility and personal property as surplus. Public hearing is now open. I ask for cooperation in the following. Everyone will be given an opportunity to be heard. The city clerk will be making a recording of the proceedings. If you wish to participate in the hearing, you must raise your virtual hand on the Zoom meeting screen or press *9 if you're connected by telephone only. Wait until I've recognized your request and you have become unmuted. You should then begin by stating your name and address and indicate whether you're speaking for yourself individually as a spokesperson for a certain group or both. Speak slowly and clearly. Only one person will be allowed to speak at a time. Your testimony must only address the matter under consideration. Any questions of staff are to be directed through the council. Each person will have an opportunity to address council for an additional period not to exceed 5 minutes. If more time is needed, it will be made available after everyone has had an opportunity to speak. Before we do hear from the audience, is there a staff report to be presented?
Yes, there is, Mr. Mayor. Council Ryan Liskey, Public Works and Utilities Director. While conducting its normal business, the city has accumulated both utility and non-utility materials and equipment surplus to its needs. RCW 3594040 for utility property and Chapter 2.07 of the Ellensburg City Code outline the process for surplusing of city-owned personal property. At Council's January 4th, 2021 meeting, a public hearing was set for tonight, January 19th, to consider a surplus declaration for accumulated materials and equipment. A resolution has been prepared for these surplus items on pages 20 and 21 of Council's packet. The Utility Advisory Committee recommended the City Council surplus utility property at the UAC's December 17th, 2020 meeting. Staff recommends Council conduct public hearing and consider adoption of the proposed resolution declaring the items surplus to the city. I'm available with questions.
Great, thank you. The floor is now open to testimony from the public. Each person will have an opportunity to address council for an initial period not to exceed 5 minutes. If more time is needed, it will be made available after everyone has had an opportunity to speak. Does anyone wish to speak does anyone wish to address council on the declaration of surplus property resolution? I see no one. Does staff have anything to add?
No, I don't.
Is there then anyone in the audience who would like to add non-repetitive information or evidence about this matter? Again, I see no one. Council, do you have any questions of staff or the public? None. Public testimony portion of this hearing is now closed. Council may now begin discussion and deliberation of the matter. Council.
I move we consider adoption of the attached resolution declaring the item surplus to the city.
Second.
So a motion and second to adopt resolution 2021-02. That'll work. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. I too vote aye. That motion carries. Thank you. That then brings us to 9A. This is second reading and adoption of ordinance 4869, amending the Ellensburg Comprehensive Plan. And we would be on page 22 in our packet. Kirsten, if you're speaking, we're not hearing you.
You guys aren't hearing me?
No, there we are.
Okay. Let me bring it a little bit closer. Okay. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Kirsten Sackett, Community Development Department. And I thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor, City Council. This is a follow-up to a meeting we held last council meeting. But going back a little bit further, with the comprehensive plan at the July 20th, 2020 meeting, City Council did docket 3 items for amendments to the comprehensive plan. And in some of the steps that we had to follow, we went through the SEPA process. A SEPA determination of non-significance was issued on November 24th, 2020. And the required 60-day notice to the Department of Commerce was complete on December 13th, 2020. So at the last meeting that you held on January 4th, to consider the amendments, at the conclusion of that public hearing, Council voted to approve docket item 2001 with one amendment to correct a Scrivener's error. Docket item 2002 and 2003 were approved in part, with the remainder of the items referred into 2021. Being a little bit more specific, docket proposal 2001 is regarding the 6-year capital improvement plan. We do update that every year. And the Scrivener's error was simply a reference in the Parks and Rec plan to it where it said Rotary Pavilion acquisition. That has already occurred. So we changed the language to read Rotary Pavilion development, and that's found on page 33 of your packet. Pretty basic little correction there. Docket proposal 2002 was submitted by staff to amend the comp plan to reflect the city's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And so the proposal was to add a new values statement to that effect and to add a new chapter to the comp plan. Docket item 2003 was also proposing a new chapter be added to the comp plan. Before it came to council, it did go to the Planning Commission on December 2nd, 2020 for their recommendation. They did recommend approval of the capital improvement plan update. They did approve some of the language to the value statements, but they had also advised that more time be spent on the development of that along with the new chapter. They also wanted to ensure that the new values statement included the term sexual orientation and age, but age was already in there. And they also recommended that in the future, the terms inclusion, diversity, and equity do have definitions added to the comp plan. So as stated previously,
we took care of the item in 2001 with the new verbiage in there. Regarding docket item 2002, council did decide to move forward with that proposal with the amendment to add sexual orientation. So that is found on page 46 in your packet. And also to rephrase the title of the topic to read diversity, equity, and inclusion rather than the previous verbiage. The attachments to the ordinance that's included at the end of the packet include all of those edits. Now, as discussed, the creation of the new chapter itself in docket proposal 2002 and 2003 was referred into the 2021 year. So that will be worked on from now until the next time you work on adoption. If council does move forward with the creation of the new commission that's been discussed, a new diversity, equity, and inclusion commission, as discussed last meeting, that group would be tasked with leading the effort to engage the public on the topic, receive a lot of feedback to help craft the new chapter. And I know you had asked for just a plan of action for how we would move that forward. City staff would be heavily involved in that. We anticipate if this new commission is formed, that there would be a city staff member assigned to be a liaison. They would help with generating agendas, packets, distribution, working with the commission to develop the outreach program to the community. Staff from my department would also be heavily involved in the work. We would work in tandem with whatever staff the person was assigned to be the liaison. And we would provide some education to the commission on the purpose of the comp plan, how it's crafted, and make sure that the development of the new chapter would actually be in sync with the rest of the comp plan. There's very specific formula for the chapters. They each have a background and context specific to Ellensburg, and then they have goals, policies, and objectives. And we'd want to work with the commission to follow a process for determining what those are specific to Ellensburg. That's not a full-blown plan for moving it forward, but I assure you it will begin soon, and possibly before even the commission is formed. We'll start as staff working on what that outreach plan would look like, and that might involve some other formats. Whether we can have any meetings in person or not, or we have surveys that are available online, etc. We'll be working on putting those together. So just going back to what we did at the last meeting, at the conclusion of that public hearing, council did approve a motion to give ordinance number 4869 first reading. The attached ordinance for second reading includes the 2 exhibits that reflect those amendments that were approved by city council. And I'll stand for questions.
Great, thank you. Before we go to questions of staff, does anyone from the audience wish to address council? I'm not seeing, sorry, folks. I'm not seeing anyone at this point. Oh, there we go. Betty Douglas.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Betty Douglas. I live at 315 West Helena Avenue here in town. And before you go to approving this, I want to one more time state my objection to the diversity and equity. It is totally unnecessary. We have told you time and time again that this is already an inclusive community with the things that we do and the way it's done. We do not need to have it in the city ordinance or in the comprehensive plan. And if you do proceed going forward, I would want you to put a halt to it now and put more thought into it, put more people into it, and have it be considered, if at all, in the 2021 comprehensive plan come the end of 2021 instead of doing it now. I just really object to it. You cannot understand how my heart gets to beating so fast when you guys start talking about this, because it is so obnoxious to think this. And I think so many people that I have heard talk, they say, well, I'm in favor of it. I like what you're doing. And you have to ask, how long have they lived in Kittitas Valley? and how long are they going to be here? And I think a lot of them are newcomers and they're liberals from the west side and have not a clue what it's really like here. My other thought is they say, I have not felt included. And I want to ask, do they go beyond themselves to join, or do they wait for somebody to come and find them? If they're going to come and look for me to include me in, that's not going to work. They have to be the one to go out and try to find a group to get included in. So I object. I do not want it in the new comprehensive plan at all approved right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So also I see Teresa Plu.
Okay, can you hear me?
We're good.
Okay, Teresa Plu, 140 Woodhouse Loop. I think that's right. Anyways, I'm here to speak about this. I understand that you say that you are just considering making the changes and creating the BIPOC commission. And my experience so far with city council has been that there seems to be a rush to move these things. I've seen it on the Arts Commission that, you know, this is the time, we need to do it quickly. I do, like the last speaker, really plead for you people to slow this process down so that you can really include all of that public process that you're talking about. This is going to impact our community for a long time. You want to have people in agreement over this. You don't want to have a divisiveness in the middle of this community. There is work yet to be done to include all of the people in this valley, regardless which political affiliation they lean. I know that the council tends to be more liberal. And those people voted you in, so therefore you probably represent them. But we have other people to consider here too. We have to live together. And I think if you're going to bring peace and true inclusion into this process so that everybody can dance, like it says on your subcommittee report, that you just have to give this some time. Let the process of discussion go on. But Mr. Hobbs spoke earlier about people not being able to access these. I've been trying to get people to engage in city council for a long time, and people are really challenged. They try, but the technology is very difficult for them. There's so many people you're not hearing from. So please slow it down. I'm hoping COVID opens this up so that we can sit and we can talk around big tables, you know, and with masks on, whatever makes people feel comfortable, and we can actually come together on this for something that really works for everybody. That's what I ask from the council. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else wish to approach? Okay, seeing no one, thank you for your input. Council, before us is to conduct second reading and adoption of ordinance 4869.
We do second reading and adoption of ordinance 4869.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and second to conduct second reading and adoption ordinance 4869, amending the comprehensive plan. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. Excuse me. Yeah, I wanted to speak to this. I just want to acknowledge, I guess, the public participation that I hear you, and I am listening, and I can tell how passionate you are about this topic. And I wanted to acknowledge that, and also say that there's also community members that have as deeply seated opinions on the polar opposite end. And so I wish that there was some way for your lens on this to, you know, like for people's lenses, just to understand that their life experiences have given them a totally different perspective, just like my perspective is different than somebody else's council member here. So just maybe the open-mindedness of that. And I also come back to the work that the commission is doing. And I think that there's some misinformation around that because there's real concern occasionally from people that offer their opinions during public comment. And it's my view of this group is to make sure that all the voices in our community are heard. Exactly what you're saying, that all people should be represented, that everybody needs to be included in the decisions that council makes. And that people have different abilities to access government. And those are the exact reasons that I think the commission's important. So that every corner of our community and everybody that's here can be heard and included, and that those groups can then give recommendations to council to what they feel needs to change here locally.
Great, thanks. Anyone else? So we do have a motion and second to conduct second reading of ordinance 4869. If the clerk would call the roll.
Engel,
Yes.
Goodlow,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Lilquist,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Morgan,
Yes.
Cab.
Yes. The motion passes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington, amending the comprehensive plan adopted by ordinance number 4785 and set out in chapter 15.120 of the Ellensburg City Code.
Great, thank you. We're now to 10, it would be the new 10A, which pulled the minutes from our January 4th meeting. And that was at the request of Councilmember Lilquist.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to address on page 10, item 12B, council member reports. The minutes as they read say Councilmember Lilquist responded to a letter published in the Daily Record regarding council mandating businesses to follow certain rules. And I would like to amend that to say that Councilmember Lilquist responded to a letter containing misinformation published in the Daily Record and clarifying that council will not create mandates on business hiring practices.
So is that a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and second to amend the council minutes of January 4th to reflect the language that Nancy proposed. And you can get that to Beth so that we have the exact language. I'm not going to try and repeat it. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
I just wanted to reframe it so that it didn't, I didn't want it in the record. I think you could read this as with perceiving that we were going to mandate things, and the point was we're not going to, and I want that to be clear.
Yeah, I think the clarity is important.
In
because
the official record that who knows who will read.
Okay, we got it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good. So we do have a motion and second to amend the minutes of the January 4th meeting as presented by Councilmember Lilquist. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? So how would do we need to do the amendment? I guess I need to do the amendment first. So all those in favor of the amendment to the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. Now, I think we made a second motion to approve the amended minutes of the January 4th City Council meeting. January
I so
4th. we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the amended minutes from the January 4th, 2021 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I too vote aye. That motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for catching that. That brings us down then to the manager's report. I would note that we are going to, I believe, need an executive session this evening. And with that, we'll turn it over to John.
Mr. Mayor, Council, a couple of informational items. The City Code, Section 9.80, requires that we notify the council of any action to purchase gas or electricity for the energy purchases for the city. We recently purchased 1,000 MMBTU at $2.56 per MMBTU for the month of March 2021. Total value of that contract purchase is $79,360. And then the second item, informationally, we are in the process of preparing an RFP for issuance of up to $10 million in revenue bonds. The bonds were provided for in your discussion on the 2021 budget related to improvements in the water and sewer utility. The projects included to be financed through bond debt are Bull Road Utility Extension, the Illinois Well outfitting, Anderson Road Sewer Extension, pressure zone expansion on Craig's Hill, water tower treatment facility clarifiers, and digester building electrical upgrades at the wastewater plant. And at this point, that is simply an informational item, but we do plan to bring the enabling ordinance for those bonds forward for your consideration at the first meeting in February. Mayor Tab mentioned the executive session that's planned for this evening. That exec session is provided under the authority of RCW 4230-110 sub 1 sub I for the purpose of discussing pending litigation. We anticipate 10 minutes for that conversation, and no action is planned to follow.
Great. Thank you. Just a note, when the bond comes back to us, can we just make sure that, could we bring back information on what that does for our bond capacity, our overall bonding capacity?
Certainly.
That'd be great. Thank you. So let's move to council reports before we go into exec. Start with Nancy Goodlow.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of things to share tonight. The DEI subcommittee has met with Ellensburg School District representatives from the board and with the superintendent, and reviewed our report and the things that we have heard and the recommendations that had been made specific to the schools regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. We had a very good conversation with the representatives from the school district, and they requested a continued collaboration in this arena with City Council as we move forward with our process. I attended a discussion hosted by CW in which we had an opportunity, the people there had an opportunity to meet the new president. I was very impressed with him and very excited about the possibilities of his term with us. He's very committed to town gown relationship and anxious to work with us to strengthen that even further than it is right now. He's also a person who has a high value for diversity and equity inclusion and has done a lot of work with that issue at the university where he is right now in the past. So I think we'll have a good partnership there, and we'll be able to look forward to some good meetings with the campus community. The other thing that I would share is the Community Recovery Fund is doing very well. We received a $10,000 grant from the TAW Foundation in Seattle. We've had a number of individual donations from the community, and we really appreciate that. And we also received $6,300 that came through the United Way of Central Washington from another source, but they channeled them to us, designated for utilities and rent for hospitality workers in our county that had lost their jobs because of COVID. Those came in the form of Visa cards. So the committee has allotted almost all of those cards. I think we have $600 left in that pot of money. Hope Source has worked with us and were the distributors for those cards. So we're back in business, getting a number of applications for rent and utilities for people who are behind in their payments. But we're doing really well. I think we have over $20,000 balance right now, so we should be good for a few more months.
That's great. I just want to reemphasize and thank you and Charlie Sorensen, Commissioner Shadas. I know there's somebody from the Upper County that I'm forgetting, and
Walter.
Kylie.
Walter Manhout.
It's been a yeoman's work, an incredible effort. You've stayed on top of it. You've kept it in front of people so that the money would continue to flow to folks. It's been an extraordinary effort from all of you to make it work. It's really appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move around. How about Nancy L?
My developmental disabilities advisory committee meeting was canceled this month. I did have an airport advisory committee meeting. That is a brand new board. They've totally reconstituted it. We now have a new department under the county with 2 employees and a new board, and I was elected vice chair of the board, being only one of 2 who had been on the board before that weren't brand new. So we're off and running. I anticipate that I would lead the subcommittee on the industrial park property and that effort to get those parcels rented and people occupying the business park and earning money for the airport and getting the whole airport self-sufficient is really the goal. So things are on a good trajectory there. I did attend a recreation forum this afternoon, and they talked a lot about the snow park overload. Apparently there is a lot of families who are trying to get their kids out to play in the snow, and it is overloading Snoqualmie Pass and the whole I-90 corridor. So they were brainstorming solutions, but also just trying to get the word out about where to go, and that you do need a snow park in a lot of places in the county. And because people leave, I think that, throw the boots on the kids and go and don't, plan ahead very well and understand that they need passes to park, and they need to know where they're going and what the alternatives are, because a lot of those places are full when they get there. Also, there's a group in town that is has through the Morning Rotary Club purchased a glass crusher grinder. And so there is an opportunity to recycle your glass in the county now, but it is sort of a who you know thing. So there's not just a drop off point. There are glass ambassadors who collect the glass and volunteer to grind it into sand, and they want clean glass, no labels, no metal rings, no lids, and
Wash, I'm sure.
and wash, yeah, clean. So again, Morning Rotary would be a good contact if you're interested in helping, donating to the cause. There's still fundraising or if you want to volunteer your time to collect and grind glass. They also had kind of a wish list, and there's a Facebook page for glass recycling in Kittitas County if you want to keep tabs on that. That is all I have.
Great, thank you. Mary?
Oh, my report?
Sure.
The only thing I had was lodging. Oh no, I had KitCom too. I'm trying to keep track of meetings. I don't think I have anything to report that's a big deal for either one of those. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Stacy?
No report from my commission meetings. I did want to speak to the access issue that was brought up again tonight, because I've thought about this a lot and understand the difficulty that online meetings poses. And me personally, I'd rather be in the same room with everybody. But I've also noticed that in some ways engagement is higher, and that there's a flip side because it's easier access for people that lack transportation or have mobility issues or have dependents that they're caring for. So in some ways it's more difficult, and in some ways it's easier for people to engage. And I would challenge, I guess, if anybody could come up a way that we could really harness the benefit that online meetings have brought as we move back to in-person meetings in the future. Because I think in a lot of ways it's been great to have people engage, and we've had a lot more regular attendees than just a single person in the audience that I've seen so many times. So that was it.
Great, thanks. And I do think that's a conversation. Yes, Nancy.
Go ahead. I wanted to ask Stacy a question, but go ahead with your comment.
I think it's a conversation that a number of cities are having as we move through the proclamation. Because we're clearly seeing that there are groups who are accessing, or people who are accessing meetings remotely that were not prior. And if you recall, it was maybe a year or so ago now, maybe longer, there was a conversation we had about our boards and commissions and whether remote participation was acceptable and how that might be acceptable. Yeah. I think those are all part of those pieces that we need to have conversations about moving forward.
Yeah. Stacy, I wanted to ask, I saw on Facebook last night, there's a call for the community input on the naming of the downtown park. Can you speak to that and tell people maybe where they can go to submit their nomination?
Absolutely. So the Parks and Rec Commission has, it's been out for a while now, put out their request for naming. You could go to the city's Facebook page or call the city parks director, and they're taking submissions, handwritten, over the phone, online. They're really trying to open it up to get broad access again. And there's a statement when you go like online or you go to those places to submit. There's a statement about what the theme is that they're looking for. and you submit your name and then the reason that you think that that name is appropriate. And then all of it gets culminated and goes to the Parks Commission, and they've created a format of exactly how they're going to choose those, a criteria and a grading format.
Great, thanks.
Just to reinforce Stacy's point there, the on the front first, if you simply go to the City of Ellensburg's webpage, it's like the second link down on the page will kick you into that process that Stacy just.
It's like an online survey. You just fill out an online survey, and the link is through the City of Ellensburg website or Facebook page or all those other ways. Right. Yep.
Great, thank you. David.
I have no report, but I did want to thank everyone again for my excused absence for last meeting. Appreciate it.
Great, thanks. Tristan?
I had to miss Arts Commission because of a work conflict. Those are coming up more again lately. I did attend the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I had to jump off a little bit for that, but I did did get to sit through a brief presentation on the CROP, or the county's contamination reduction and outreach plan. That's a 90-page document they had to submit to ecology. It had a lot of authors. It's a good plan. They're taking comments, I think, until the next meeting. And there was more community engagement on SWAC than there's been for a while, even though it was remote. And they also put together a work group to work on a recycling development grant opportunity. And then library board, they're always a pleasure. They were mostly thrilled about how in the past budget, in the budget that we approved, implemented, that library fees, late fees have been abolished finally. I think that was a long-term goal of Josephine. So that will be one tiny little hardship removed for the citizens of Ellensburg. They will just lose their library card access if they don't return books.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Well, I was used to your end of report.
Apologies.
That's good. We've recovered clearly. So just quickly, because we do have the exec coming in, just so folks, Dr. Larson referenced the South Central region, the region that we're in. The electeds, as well as the city managers, administrative staff, have set up, there's a regular weekly meeting that we're now plugged into. I honestly believe most of the work that's going to be happening is going to be occurring at the Dr. Larson and the public health districts level. But there is at least another conduit for communication about what we're trying to manage and how that would look. I also had the opportunity to be on a governor's call with mayors of actually Eastern Washington, this area. Probably the only issue, and everybody's saying the same things, honestly. You know, restaurants were working. I don't know why the restaurants are closed. The regions don't make sense. What are we going to do? It's not going to change until the vaccine gets rolled out, just so we're clear. The one issue that we did raise locally, it came out of our economic recovery group meeting, was that apparently there was a report out of King County that restaurants that used garage doors, you know, those kind of big doors that can slide open, had figured out some way to get through their air quality piece under the governor's restrictions, and that some had opened. It's unclear exactly where that came from, but we asked for clarification from the governor's office, really to try and understand what that meant and whether that was an opportunity for certain restaurants to be able to serve either additional people, or if there are people, if a restaurant that's precluded from open air service, that would provide an opportunity for them to open. So if we do get something, we'll pass it on, actually the health department, but also to that group, and then see where that goes. The PTAC had a meeting this afternoon, just so we're aware. We've got actually an app coming that's really pretty cool. A website redesign, a new logo that we haven't settled on yet, but we'll see in middle February. We're looking for probably a March to April rollout of new branding on PTAC. We'll loop everybody in on where we're going, or Central Transit. We'll loop everybody in on where that's going. We've also submitted our grant for the consolidated grant through the Department of Transportation. That's a big deal because that's also a portion of our operating money that we utilize. Hope Source has also ordered new vehicles. We should have new vehicles in, I think, actually within the next 60 days. There's 3 new vehicles for Central Transit, so that'll be an opportunity to wrap with our new branding. The other exciting piece was that Hope Source is also in the queue for FTA funding for hybrid vehicles, so that Central Transit would move to hybrid, hopefully by the end of this year, if the federal spigots opened up. So that piece is cool. I had the opportunity to speak and attend the memorial for victims of COVID this afternoon, or actually this evening, just before council meeting. It seems as if when you talk to people that in fact many people have been affected. We're over 400,000 people who have died in the country, but locally, I think it's important to recognize that not only have people died, but families have been affected and not been able to grieve in ways that we normally would be able to grieve, in terms of both sharing the death of a loved one, drawing on a circle of support to help individuals through. And I think, if anything, the opportunity to take a deep breath during the memorial, and as we think of those folks who have passed, but also think of our friends and neighbors who have not had the opportunity to really, who have felt that loss and have not closed that circle for themselves. Because I think it's just a huge issue for people that has not been well acknowledged. And on a brighter note, I got to speak to a class of students on their way to be elementary educational social studies teachers about the role and how you engage people, students in elementary schools, in the civic process, and how they can become engaged citizens in our society. And my primary message is, much as we're talking about access, is that the simplest and easiest, really, and the most impactful on so many levels, is to engage locally. Because to me, that's where you affect change. So with that, I think we will go into executive session. This is again 10 minutes under RCW 42.30110 sub 1 sub I, relating to litigation or potential litigation. We don't anticipate more than 10 minutes. And when we're done, we'll come out and adjourn. So council, we leave this meeting. We should have a link to get into the exec meeting. Let's not take a break tonight. Let's just hop over and get it done. Thank you.
I might be getting the hang of this.
Yeah,
we
me
didn't.
too, finally.
I think we have a quorum here.
Motion to adjourn.
So I think we're done. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week, or whatever is left of this, or
A
something.
great tomorrow.
Have a
And a
great
Tomorrow's a
tomorrow.
great
That's
day.
Have
right.
have a quiet tomorrow for everyone.
Yes.
We're done?
We're done. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.